Hello and welcome to this webinar on tier management in casino players club and loyalty programs. This webinar is brought to you by Dusane Infotech, your partners in casino management. Dusane Infotech is a gaming technology company which boasts of various gaming systems, including a complete casino management system, online lottery, sports betting system, virtual sports, and progressive gaming, solutions for casinos, etc. We cater to over 20 customers around 5 continents. The flow of this webinar will be as follows. We would encourage you to pen down your questions and queries, etc., and place them in the question section window during the course of this webinar. This webinar will be for 20 minutes, after which we would read out your questions and try to the best of our ability to answer them. In case further details are required, we shall also post the answers either directly to your email or we shall maintain the FAQs on our website. Very briefly, let me introduce my co-host for today's webinar, Mr. Vidyadhar Desai. He has been associated with the Dusane Casino Management System in the capacity of a project manager for the last 5 years. He specializes in software architecture development and has built various hospitality related systems, including casino management system, CRM, hospitality management, clubs, and spa management. He carries with him a total experience of 10 years in the field of development. I am Fayaz Engineer and shall be hosting this webinar for the next 20 minutes. I too have been associated with the CMS system since its inception in the capacity of a project manager specializing in hardware development. I am a postgraduate degree in I have a postgraduate degree in electronics and specialize in embedded technology and electronics in hospitality. Now, our aim today in conducting this webinar is to empower you with the knowledge of making the right choice and asking the correct questions when selecting a system for player tiering in your casino players club. We shall first show you some statistical figures to cement your resolve on not considering the loyalty system as just another cog to the wheel. We shall discuss evolution of player loyalty system in brief, which will allow you to understand the downside of the past methods. Then we shall discuss about hard assignment and reflexive percentage assignment type of tiering logic. I shall then very briefly explain player base points and bonus point setup mechanisms. Finally, we shall close out by answering questions raised. This pie chart that you see on the screen exhibits a typical average spend of a major casino. Very clearly, the largest portion of the spend is allocated to promotional allowances, marketing, and admin. Now, if we further explore the previous 37% of marketing expenses, we find that the players club's comps takes the major piece of the expenses. Now observe that 37% of marketing budget is spent on player clubs and comps. Now this should be valid enough reason to invest in a system that can provide you with correct and vital information of those 20% of players that fetch you your 80% of revenue. Now let's discuss a bit on the flat structure in player loyalty and its challenges. Now, even today, many casinos still adhere to the age old flat structure of tier allocation based solely on the spent monetary value of coin in value. Now, for example, tier 1 allocated to every player with a total coin in value greater than $20,000, and tier 2 will be allocated to every player with a spend value or a coin in value of value greater than $10,000, etc. Now, other parameters such as recency and frequency are totally neglected. Again, player win loss is not taken into account here. So, this leaves you with a totally uneven distribution of players with little or no competitive advantage. A daily visitor in your casino will be ranked equal to a player who has just recently started visiting but has made just a one time large bet. So we now move one step further to a larger, better system, that is the RFM analysis of player tiering. Now, RFM would indicate recency, frequency, and monetary. So, when we speak of recency, it's how recently has the player spent in the casino. Frequency would suggest how frequently does a player spend in the casino, and monetarily, I beg your pardon, monetary, the most important question is how much. So, unfortunately, the win and loss amount are still not taken into account here. Customers with low RFM score may be ignored, which actually can form the target audience for marketing promotions. Now, low recency and high spending could be ranked lower, similar to what we observed in a flat structure. So, although RFM may be a good standard for the retail industry, now in a casino environment, it still does not fit the bill. So, our research leads us to the development of two newly introduced parameters, that is, bonusing and discounting. So, bonusing and discounting, or we call it the BD added to the RFM. So, it would be the BD analysis. Now, let's look what is this BD analysis. Let me directly explain the difference between RFM and BD combined. Let's first consider the RFM analysis of tiering. Here, consider two players, one in scenario A and the other in scenario B. In both these scenarios, player A and player B have spent equal amount of $1,000 each. But player A loses to the casino and is feeling low, whereas player B has had a good day and wins. Uh, while running the tiering logic, the casino will still consider the amount spent by both these players to be $1,000 each and rank them equally. So in this case, both are on tier level 2. Now you can very easily understand the problem with retaining this player A. Whereas if you now consider RFM plus bonusing discounting analysis, here the player who loses to the casino will be considered for an upgrade. That will be based on his spent weightage. Hence, there is a probability that the player may get an upgrade to his tier. Similarly, player B may just about manage to stick to his current tier or may even be downgraded as shown here. So now a word of caution here. Please do not take these numbers at face value. They have been demonstrated to simplify the understanding of bonusing and discounting. The actual process is a bit more complex with percentage weightages allocated to a per visit theo and total theo calculations. Now, the greatest advantage of the BD system is an increase in your player retention and also encouraging the players to increase their spend. So, once the weightages have been calculated based on bonusing and discounting, tiers can be allocated based on either percentage assignment or based on hard target assignment. Now, hard target assignment is recommended for new startups so that players do not directly get allocated to the highest tier as would have been in the case of percentage assignment. Once you have substantial data in a period of 3 to 6 months, the percentage assignment can then be adopted. Observe also how percentage assignment distribution provides a reflexive bell curve. That is, with majority of the players lying towards the center of the tier structure and thinning out at the top and bottom. So as you can observe, rank 1 has the least amount of players, that will be 2% of the players, then increasing towards the center and decreasing against towards the bottom. Now, percentage assignment causes an extremely competitive environment in a casino. The players are not just playing against the casino but are also competing among themselves. The increment of rank for one player will directly lead to the lowering of rank for another because there's only so much as 2% who can fit in the top layer. So any added or a better player trying to compete can move up into the rank 1 will definitely have another player move down into rank 2. Hence, a competition to achieve a higher status will lead to more player spend and improved casino profitability. Let's now look at the player base point setup. This is a generic player point setup with an added multiplier, okay, uh, to take care of various point values. For example, if the coin in percentage is the value that is returned to a player on every bet that is wagered, then according to this table, for every $4 played, the casino will return 1 cent back to the player's account. This value is returned to the player in the form of naturally player points. Please note that player point allocation and tier allocation are two totally different separate entities here, and tiering is not based on the points accrued. There can always be a possibility that a player with a lower point score can land up in a higher tier. Finally, a good loyalty and player club system should have a bonus point setup. The more the parameters to choose from, the better the marketing strategy for targeting audience. For example, you will observe in the table below a program called Females Friday Triple Bonanza, which will provide ladies triple points every Friday starting from the 20th of April to the 31st of May. Some other parameters mentioned are date, tier level, days, age, gender, happy hours, etc. So to conclude, what have we learned today? We have seen why investing in a good loyalty system makes sense. We understand why RFM BD, that is bonusing and discounting, gives you an upper hand over other methods. And you now know What parameters should exist in a good casino management player club program? So, in conclusion, we at Dusane have adopted a scientific approach to tier allocation by using advanced data analytics and data mining, leading to a superior loyalty system. Thank you for your patience and for participating in this webinar. For a one-on-one consultation, you can register at the mentioned link www.dusaneinfotech.com/reach-us. You can also write to us at solutions@dusaneinfotech.com. We would appreciate any feedback with respect to the content and the speaker. I hope you gained from this webinar as much as we enjoyed presenting it. Thank you. We are now open for your question and answers.